My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is generous gift of life. I was just on the mountain. I was doing grief sessions every Thursday and Friday that I received from a shaman. And as I'm working full time and teaching an apprenticeship, it just seems like a lot to fold into my life right now. Additional self work because I do other self work like exercise and minding my diet and taking or Ayurvedic medicine, and I'm doing always work on the self, but it just didn't seem like the right time because this is the busiest year of my life for me to be folding in more for me to study and do while I'm trying to pour so much out of my cup. We got to get some of this water out of the cup before we can pour more in because we're just getting water all over the floor. So I stepped out of doing that grief work today, but I noticed as I stepped away from it, a bunch of grief flushed up for me. So I went to mountain and I went to sit with the elemental spirits and praise Pachamama's belly and praise Father Sky and kind of just ground myself after getting some of that grief release out. And every time I connect with nature, I often marinate, and every time I connect, I'm grateful, I'm humbled, I'm centered, I'm grounded. I feel more like myself. I think I've always felt some level of inner homelessness because my home is a forest. So being in these dang buildings doesn't feel like home to me. But like, it just, I don't know. I also have often this awareness of how generous nature is. The sun every single day of your life shows up like clockwork. Two-leggeds might not do that. They might not be their word. They might not show up for you. They might say they're going to show up, and then they might not be able to because they're not loving themselves. So how could they possibly love you? Or they're not, whatever it is, whatever the reason is, they're not being their word to themselves. So how could they be their word to you? So, but the sun shows up for you every day. It lights your way. It gives you warmth. It not only illuminates and gives you clarity to see and gives you the warmth of the sun, but it provides the energy for all of the food that we eat. So the sun is deeply generous and it really never asks anything of you. And the moon gives you this period of energy in which I was actually often go to sing to the elemental spirits. I was out there singing to them, and I was singing about the sun and the moon. And the moon often gives you this quelling energy, this moment of quiet, this concept of receptivity, this opportunity to be still, to go within, to find the inner fruits and how delicious those are. What sweet nectar can be found within when we get still, because it's a quieting time. It's not, our path is not illuminated. Therefore, let us be still and stop walking on it. Time to rest. Let's go within. So, I was thinking about how generous Father Sky is, giving sweet Pachamama, Mother Earth's belly, drink when she thirsts, crying at her beauty, and she blooms forth towards him. And then I was thinking of Pachamama, Sacred Mother's belly. Mother Earth provides food, which gives you nutrients. It gives you her food, not the food that's a lot of food in the grocery stores, but her food, not the food at the fast food stores. Her food gives you actual vitamins, minerals, nutrients that your body needs to sustain life. How generous. And she never asks anything in return. I'm sure she would appreciate not being littered on. I often am like, Mother, your children are throwing trash on your belly again, because I want to judge it and then I have to forgive myself and them. But, she doesn't really ask anything in return. She just gives. Here, have some food. Here, I made a fruit tree. Here, look at this pretty flower. Look how lovely I am. Here, you can lean against this tree and ground your own energy. It's like, generous. Thank you for your generous spirit. And then our own bodies, your brain functions for you every day in a myriad of ways. These neurosynapses firing, your brain like an electrical storm, but not asking of you. That's a norm. That it asks nothing of you. It's not like, hey, by the way, I'm sure it appreciates when you choose to give it oxygen. When you choose to use the breath, remember that you have that. Remember that your oxygenates your cells, and it's needed by your body. It's needed by your brain. as well as hydration, water, great water medicine. But your heart beating all the time, keeping rhythm, always in a rhyme, but never asking you, hey, can you support me with beating? Just serving you. So many things serve you every day. And one of the things I was thinking about as I was driving down, I always assumed that I would have a family, that I would have children. I'm 46. That's not the case. Make plans and watch God laugh, so that's not the case. I'm not doing the family thing this go around. But I thought about that. I wonder how many parents right now are just like so frustrated with their children. And I wonder if they ever stop to think about all the people that wanted to be parents that weren't, and they weren't given that grace. They weren't even given the opportunity to have that frustration that they're having. It's not easy being a parent. I mean, there are times when I feel deeply grateful that didn't occur for me because my attention is mine. And that's one of the gifts you get from not stewarding something like that. Such a big mission. But I feel like it's easy as a two-legged to take for granted the graces, the gifts, the generosity of what we've been given. We are, especially in a consumerist society, being constantly fed this idea that we need more. I want more. It's not enough. I must keep consuming. We are conditioned and marketed and algorithm and neuropeptide brain controlled into believing that we are a vast black hole that constantly needs to be filled, and the appetite of 1,000 hungry ghosts that can never be filled. But one of the ways that we can stop this incessant consumerism that is not necessarily a gift to Mother Earth, she has whatever resources she has, and we're just like, give me more resources. I'm going to stack up toilet paper. It's like, can't get enough of her resources. And not all of us, but, a lot of us. I mean, that happens to me too. I think it happens to most Westerners, probably a lot of people globally. But then I think about these people that have so little and they can be so happy with so little. So every year I try to minimize my consumerism. I try to minimize and appreciate what I have. Because when we are in this constant need to consume, when we have this appetite of 1,000 hungry ghosts, when there's just no way to ever get enough to feel fulfilled, it's like you're chasing your own tail. Have you ever watched an animal do that? You're not really getting anywhere. So, what we can do is start to place our attention on what we have. And when I think about all that I have, and I've had many periods in my life where much that I have now has been taken from me. And then here it is back again. Look at all these things I have. I have a home, I have food, I have running water, I have plumbing, I have my needs met, I have kitty cats, little kitty four-leggeds. When I look at all my graces, it's really humbling. When I think about all my graces, when I think about the amount of things I have in my closet that are projects to get to, it's like, hey, sis, don't buy another project to get to. Why don't you get to those over there? You're so rich, you already have projects to work on, So for me, each year of life becomes more about how can I live more on less, because that's one of the ways I can give back to the generous Mother Earth, the generous belly that gives me a place to stand in space so that I don't just float in the blackness of the cold, vast space. Thank you, Mother Earth, for giving me this belly to stand on and walk around on. One of the ways I can get back to her, aside from picking up litter and doing things like that, or never littering, is to consume less. It's one of the ways I can get back to her for her generosity. One of the ways I can get back to the sun is to go enjoy it, to go be in it. It literally just keeps giving to me. If I will go be in the sun, it will cause my body after 15 minutes to produce enough vitamin D to ward off depression. So it literally can even be a medicine to your own body, your own biochemistry coming into alignment physically. But another way that I can give back to my own self and to my own life with my own generous nature is to recognize the magnitude of what I have. And as I've started to reflect on that through the years, I started to need and want less. Like I used to have like the newest iPhone. I used to keep up with that, And many years ago, I was like, no, I'm not spending $1,000 every year on a phone. No, it's 5 car payments. Like, it's not a logical trade, because also for that $1,000, they are creating the latest and greatest to control the brain biochemistry, the neuropeptides in my brain, so that I will remain on the phone. Because if I'm on the phone, I'm likely to consume. So no, I don't want to consume. I want to take care of Mother Earth. So I buy a phone that works for me, and then I don't spend as much money every year. I don't have that expense, and it works fine. You know what I mean? I don't miss the latest iPhone at all. I'd like, what actually was that giving me other than a headache? But and I'm not saying I always have further to go. There's always more I could do. But as I recognize like the magnitude of my gifts, as I really stop consuming and just take time to be like, wow, I have all these things. I have all these projects. I have all these resources. I often stop myself when I have like a creative idea and I'm like, wait a minute, have you finished your last creative idea? Like, Heather, you have a lot of supplies here. Let's, instead of going to get another creative idea, let's work with the creative idea that you already have, this illumination in your mind that your brain and your heart and your essence and your being and your spirit has given you. Let's work with the tools at hand. What can you work with here first, you know? I'm working on making a silver branch, which is a Celtic shamanic rattle. And I already have one, but I'm working on making some others. And, I was going to go get all the supplies. And it was like, wait, Pachamama just generously gave me, she showed me which stick was mine to use, which pine cone was mine to use. And, let's sand this down first before we get the bells to attach. And let's do the first part of the process. So one thing I can say is, like, do you have resources in your home right now that you can use that can serve you to be creative, to express yourself? Like, you're so rich. One of the ways that I know this, any Westerner, unless I am taught, and even sometimes the homeless people that I could talk to, if I ask them to go count all of their objects, I mean, even some homeless people, they have an entire shopping cart full of objects, but you go count all your objects in your attic, your garage, every single object you own, and tell me how many is that. And then tell me the story about how poor you are. You got like 1 million objects in your home? Okay. I'm sorry, why are you poor? What are you so poor about? So the first thing I'm saying is one of the ways we recognize our generosity is using the resources that are already at hand, using what's available to create with what is at hand. But also taking time to really consider all that you have. Like, all my needs are met. Like, I often check in and I don't really have any needs other than getting groceries on occasion, or, tuna for my sweet 4-leggeds or whatever that is. I don't have a lot of needs. And we often are spending way more money than we might want. A lot of us think what we want is money. Well, if you want money, one of the ways you can have it is to stop spending it. Stop spending it all the time. Make sure when you spend it, it's on something that you really value, because the normative conditioning that we're also given is that there's nothing we can do. The earth is being destroyed and, oh, well, it's too late, everybody. But that's never been true. Actually, the condition of the earth has always been contingent upon each individual. What are you doing? Are you littering? How are you spending your dollar? Are you supporting grass-fed and pasture-raised? Are you consuming less? Are you buying out of bulk and taking jars? What are you doing? What are you doing? Do you turn the water off when you brush your teeth and do the dishes? How do you contribute as an entity? Because out of the 8 billion people that are nearly here, each individual is causing the earth to come back into alignment or not. So can we consider ways that we can work with what we have each day? Can we consider ways that we're already blessed? Can we consider ways that what we have might bless another and show us how rich we are? I'm so rich that I have books and clothing that I could give to someone right now. What a superstar blessed life I have. And, just marinating more on how much you have. Do you have the gift of a family? Not everyone does that. Do you get the gift of hugs? Not everyone gets those. Just appreciating what you have in your life, the love you have, not just the objects, the relationships, the communication. It's all a gift. You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. Blessed be.